Hello and welcome to the Profitable Coach Podcast. I'm your host, Kimberly Rich, and as the founder of the Bold Life Movement and a fellow coach for more than 7 years, I know the challenges that many of you face when launching or growing your coaching business. And I'm here to pull back the curtain on the coaching industry and help you overcome roadblocks to make the impact you were born to make. Each week, I'll be interviewing successful coaches from every corner of the industry to share exactly how they have managed to generate massive impact and income. From strategy to psychology, we cover it all. This show is presented to you by Transformation Academy, a global marketplace of courses and coaching certifications. So whether you are already part of our epic community or you're brand new to this show, if you're ready to learn what it takes to turn your passion for service into a profitable business, then keep listening. You are in the right place. Welcome back to episode 48 of the Profitable Coach Podcast. Can you believe it? We are almost at 50 episodes. Almost a year into creating this podcast, and I'm so grateful to be on this journey with you. And I'm really excited about today's conversation because I brought my dear friend Autumn Brianne onto the show. Autumn is a manifestation expert. She is an energy coach. She is a magical woman. And I think for someone who really hasn't been on this planet that long, she has so much wisdom to offer. This is one of the things that I appreciate most about Autumn is that she's really an old soul and has found a way to articulate and communicate the things that really help to create a magical, happy, fulfilling life and business. And so in today's conversation, we talk about how do you stay in the vibration of what it is that you desire, even when it feels like it's not working. How do you create a pretty simple business structure, like a way of offering your work into the world that doesn't overcomplicate things, that isn't too complex and doesn't stress you out, and how to love exactly what your coaching journey looks like. So I won't waste any of your time. Please welcome the one and only Autumn Brianne. Welcome back to the Profitable Coach Podcast. Today, I am joined by the magical energy coach and dear friend of mine, Miss Autumn Brianne. Autumn, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Kim. I'm so excited and honored to be here with you.
I fell in love with Autumn when we met at a retreat in Colombia. We both attended that our business mentor put on. And I was just so inspired by the way that she carried herself throughout this experience because Autumn actually got really sick, like midway or early on in the retreat. And yet every time you saw her, she had a smile on her face and she was still like investing in trying to deepen connections with people. And there was just this like, je ne sais quoi, this something about her that made her very magnetic. And then I come to find out this is literally what she teaches. She is an embodiment energy, like medicine woman. So Autumn, will you kind of take us back and let the listeners know how did you like get your feet wet in this world and what have been some of the big trajectory shifting moments that you've gone through to offer what it is that you now offer?
Yeah. I think about the Colombia trip and I'm like, I got so sick. So I'm so glad to know that you were seeing me and my like a highlight of me because I had moments where I was like, am I gonna have to go to the freaking hospital here in Colombia? It was a good experience. It was a learning experience, an embodiment practice. For you. Yeah, totally. And it's like in those moments where we really get to be who we say we are, you know? And it was, one of those moments for me, for sure. My first time out of the country. Anyways, so my journey has been talk about everything happening for you. Like my dad got into law of attraction stuff when I was really young. So I have this vivid memory of him watching The Secret when I was like 8 and being like, I knew magic was real. Like, I fucking knew it. Like it is so real. And my dad got me my first coach when I was pursuing a modeling career when I was 15. I'm the kind of person that like, I have a dream and I just go for it full force. And I was going to become a model. And I had an eating disorder that was very tied to me having a runway model body, which I am a very curvy woman, but I did it. I mean, you would see pictures of me and not even recognize me. And although it wasn't coming from the healthiest place, it's still, I was able to make it happen, and it was all happening. Yeah. And I was using manifestation. I had my first life coach, and she's just, feeding me positive energy, basically. Her and my dad were actually doing a life coaching program together, and she needed like students to practice on. Yeah. And that was me. So I was very exposed to this world. And then I started a YouTube channel to talk about modeling. I moved to New York. I was going to vlog. I had this whole vision for how everything was going to plan out. And when I was in New York, I broke out full body hives. Had this, what I would call like my intuitive awakening, where it was like, this is not for you. So I moved back to West Texas, like 4 months later. Why am I leaving New York? Everything's working out. I had a job. I lost $10,000 as a deposit for this apartment, like just stupid stuff, but great learning stuff,
Yeah.
And moved back to Texas. And I had this YouTube channel that I just started. And I started making videos talking about eating disorder recovery and self-love. And I went viral very quickly. Like my YouTube channel took off within like 6 months. I had 20,000 subscribers, and women wanted to work with me. So it started very organically. And, I was charging like $30 a session. I was 19 and just getting my feet wet, and kind of became a coach very organically. And then it shifted as I shifted. I moved to Hawaii when I was 20. I started talking more about spirituality and less about eating disorder recovery. And then it just evolved as I evolved. And at this point, I have my own method. I teach a very specific route into spirituality, into manifestation. That's very like, let's take quantum physics and actually embody it and not compartmentalize our lives, and just be a magic woman everywhere, every moment, everywhere we go. And that attracts the best possible reality. And so it's more about moment to moment being rather than manifestation techniques and practices, because that's just what has worked for me and tends to work for my clients as well. But yeah, that's how I got in.
I love it. So give us a little teaser around what you mean when you say merging quantum physics with embodiment. So like, what's an example of how you might exemplify that?
I love this question. So what we know in quantum physics is that, and we actually know a little bit of this in physics. Side note, I'm a huge nerd and I just love science and geeking out. But we learn in like 5th grade, and maybe it's 7th, I can't remember. It's probably different for everyone. But no matter how solid something appears, like my cup here, it's just tiny particles vibrating really closely together. But they're not actually solid. It's just energy that's vibrating like very tightly, very closely together, and appears to be dense, but it's not. And we're taught this in school. How does everyone not have existential crisis? Please fill me in. That kind of stuff always stuck with me. Like, what the fuck do you mean this is not solid? But people are like, the teacher's like, just learn what you need to learn for your test. Anyways, so like we know this, right? Like that's too deep, girl. Going too deep there. Just don't worry about it. But we know this, and then quantum physics takes it even further, right? That's like when you're not looking at it, it goes back into its wave state. So it doesn't even pretend to be solid. And that takes you down a whole different rabbit hole. But quantum physics really teaches us that everything is energy, right? And it's not just energy, it's the same energy. And depending on how you view it, who views it and how they view it is what you see. And what I interpret that into like an embodied way of being is that everything is God, right? So it's like, whether it's good or bad, right or wrong, up or down, God or the devil, if you want to take it into archetypes, it's all energy. It's all energy. And when we embody that moment to moment, suddenly everything's happening for you to take your power back, to remember, oh, wait, this is also me in a different form, in a different face. So it's often those things that we have the most discrepancy with, the bigger triggers or the hard stuff in life. Those are really the moments where we get to remember and apply, oh my gosh, this isn't outside of me. This isn't separate to me. This isn't everything that's bad and I'm everything that's good. This is just me. This is just me. And I call my power back from it, which is like a whole method I teach. But that's what I mean about embodying it. Like, and then it's moment to moment. Who do I be right now in relationship to this thing when it's hard? Or, you know, when can I really see that as also me and not bad? And like know that into my core and my bones.
Yeah. Well, and one way that I love to think about this in terms of the coaching path and really apply it to people that might be listening right now is, okay, if you find yourself, quote unquote, without clients or without the evidence that what you're doing and all the steps that you're taking is working, maybe that means it's working, because the absence of what you think you desire, what you think you deserve, is actually demanding you and calling forth a new level of you that you haven't unlocked yet. So now is your opportunity to unlock it. And by assuming this perspective that you've just shared around, like, this is all me, everything is for me, I'm calling it in exactly as my soul wants me to be, then we get to sort of claim that power and claim that new story, which is, for me, way better than the old story.
Exactly. And that's exactly it. Because there's relative truth to everything. Like whether I choose to hold my power and see myself as divinity and play that game, or I choose to tell a story where I'm a victim to it, like both are true. You know, it's just super relative to who you're going to be. And I found for myself and my entrepreneurial journey, it's been my deepest initiation, continually having to apply that when a client says they're going to sign up and then doesn't last minute, or when I, you know, put down 5K for a deposit on a retreat and you don't know who and how people are going to sign up. And it's like, okay, cool. These are the moments where it really comes into play. And it's not always easy. Like it's not always one thing I said to one of my coaches once is like, it seems like it's easy. Like it feels so easy for her. And she's like, yeah, me too. Like she was joking with me, but like, I feel that way too. You know, we all have the full range of emotions and get scared and doubt and have to take big leaps and have clients trigger us in that perfect way when they say they're going to sign up, but then don't, where we get to coach ourselves through and actually have that emotional mastery and apply everything we know in that moment. That's when it's hardest, but that's when it really counts the most. And I think that's what stops a lot of people from ever really, really finding success, like truly. And that was my story too, where I was doing it for so long and I've been in the game for so long, and why is it happening for them and not me? But there was this, like, why did I feel that way? That was the medicine. That was the initiation. That was the practice of how can I be the magic woman here when it's not happening for me, and embody my work so fully. And it's been the craziest compound in the past year when I decided to do this challenge for myself, where I was like, I'm going to be the magic woman day in and day out for 1 year and just see what happens. Like, I'm not going to doubt. I'm just going to like show up for a whole year. And at this point, I've invested 40K in coaching in the past 6 months, and I'm, you know, making consistent 10K months with 30K on the horizon. And it's nothing shifted, but everything shifted. Like nothing changed, but I'm a completely different woman. Yeah. It's crazy.
I'm wondering if when you made this call to the universe that you were going to be the most magical woman day in and day out and not let doubt creep in, if you got presented with opportunities to let doubt creep in.
Absolutely.
That's the initiation, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's also the thing. It's like doubt didn't never creep in. Like I've doubted, but I've just quickly alchemized it and come back into my power. And I've set myself up really well for that too, where I am, you know, it's 6 months into the year and I've invested 40K in coaching. That's insane. Like a part of me genuinely thinks that's crazy, you know, but another part of me is like, yeah, well, I'm moving as if I'm like my millionaire self now, and like 80K in a year in coaching. That makes sense because I'm getting in the room and I'm being the woman. And it's not that I never have doubted that decision. There's been crunch moments and moments of me being like, everything has to go perfectly and beyond for this to really work out. how would the version of me that already has it be in this situation? How relaxed can I be? How open can I be? How curious can I be? How innovative can I be? And it's just kind of forced me. And I know force is a strong word, but it's like almost forced me to be the woman I wanted to be right now.
I love this. I love this so much. I recently started reading Ben Hardy's Be Your Future Self Now. I might even do a solo episode on it. And I'm like sweating, I'm crying, I have chills. Like, this book is next level in terms of playing with the quantum and really like tapping into the thing that will allow you to finally get the stuff that you've been saying for years that you want, but like not making changes. And so I just feel that so fully when you talk about bringing in your future self to these moments of initiation. How would she react? And how can you set yourself up to take care of her?
Exactly. And that's the work. Like, I feel like that's almost all that matters. Not that strategy isn't important, because that's also something I've really implemented. I have a very simple, clear strategy, and but that's it. Like, I don't overthink it. I don't spend too much time trying to figure out funnels and blah, blah, blah. I'm hardly ever in the back end at this point. I have an assistant who helps me do some very basic things. I really feel like 90% of it are these energetic pieces and these emotional mastery pieces. Because something I've really thought about recently is I feel like so many people want to be overnight success in every industry, but especially the coaching industry. I'm going to get this certificate. I'm going to do whatever. And then in like 6 months from now, I'm going to have this thriving business. But in those moments in between where you're triggered as hell, or a client says they're going to and then they don't, and that's been my experience, right, where I'm like, yay, I'm going to get this 10K payday, and then they back out. But then like because I'm the magic woman, 3 months later they come back. Or one of my clients right now, and this is actually a great story, a year ago I signed her on a discounted rate. She ended up quitting and like canceling our contract. A year later, I signed her as my highest client to date, my highest paying client to date, because she was ready too. But I'm a different coach now, and the way I hold space is different, and everything is different. And it wasn't overnight. It was the moment to moment, those initiations, embodying something different, actually being the embodiment of what I'm teaching when it's hard, when it's difficult, like instead of being like, oh, they didn't sign up, like, ooh, how is this happening for me? Where am I giving my power away? I'm always connecting back to this philosophy of sourcing from source. If everything is me, my clients aren't the source of my income. I am. And really feeling that connection of, it doesn't, it could come from anywhere, any moment. I do work with some women in business, but overall, I'm all about the energy. Like, my partner just got $2 in the mail from the voting ballot. It's like, that doesn't make sense. When does that ever happen to someone? And it's like that openness. I know, it's crazy. My dog brought me $1 the other day. We were on a walk and she had a dollar bill in her mouth. And it's like that openness of money can come anywhere, anytime. I'm the source of it. I could get kind of holographic here, but
I love that.
It's so beyond even where we think our money comes from. Where does it really come from? Who are your clients? You are just a projection in their hologram. They're a projection in yours. The exchange is going to be what it's meant to be for evolution. Earth's always evolving. Everything's always healing. If it's happening, it's happening for healing. It's happening for evolution. And to really know that, though, like, I know it's so easy to hear that, maybe even resonate, but to live that way when things aren't going how you want them to go.
Yeah.
That's magic woman territory.
That.
Yeah.
I love this because, Autumn and I are in a mastermind together. We had a call recently with our mentor, and I was really having a tough time. I was really going through it and had a very vulnerable share. And since that week, this might have even been last week, my sense of time is so distorted right now because so much good has happened that I'm like, that couldn't have been as recent as last week. But, there's been a shift, and I can speak very specifically to the things that I did to help usher in that new mindset, but I'm curious what your practices are when you find yourself in a lower, quote unquote, lower vibration or a lower emotion. How do you raise that baseline and kind of like remember who you are and what your power is?
Yes, I love this question so much. And I actually teach a very specific process. I call it the process of connection, and I'll share it with you all. There's a few steps, and step one is always to feel the emotion fully. So to carve out time to sit and feel the emotion to its peak. And once you get to that peak feeling of the emotion, you tell the truth about it, which is, this is divinity. This is God, source, whatever your word is, the goddess. This feeling, this situation, me, all of it. Like this is all God. None of this is separate from me. None of this is outside of me. And if you can really connect to that feeling in your body, step 3 is then to call your power back. And I call my power back to me, and you can feel it viscerally when you're going through this. Like this was, I have this story, and I'm believing this is outside of me, the emotion, the thing that triggered it, all of it. But it's me, and I'm calling my power back to me, and you feel it coming in, and you run through that until you feel a little bit of relief. And then maybe if it's accessible, step 4 is to find some gratitude. Like, holy cow, I exist as a human being with all of these emotions, and I just had this perfect experience that had to be so perfect for my specific triggers for me to call my power back. Holy crap, like, thank you. And the lens you have to look at out of to be able to access that is that everything's really happening for you to call your power back. And that's part of, like, in the Magic Woman verse, as I call, like, my world that I teach, there's different sub-personalities. But one of the main core ethos of the Magic Woman is everything is happening for me to become unlimited, to play the unlimited game, where I'm no longer relying on anything outside of me to be my source. Like, I'm just fully falling back into source. And so, of course, like, I found a freaking treasure chest with this thing that's had my power, and I've been maybe avoiding feeling it, or like really not wanting to go into that discomfort, but here it is. And like, this is my moment to call my power back. So it's a very specific kind of practice.
I love it. And we'll have everything in the show notes if you want to go like get more of all of this that Autumn's talking about, or dive into her Magic Woman verse. We'll have all that linked up, because I just think these processes are so powerful. And I think another thing that is important to note is, if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, that's good, that's useful, I'll try and remember that next time I'm in a tough spot. Start like making deposits, power deposits now. If you're in a good headspace, like kind of set yourself up so that on the days, which are inevitable because we're human, when you dip, or when you maybe even dip so low that you're feeling kind of existential and despair, that you have a system already in place, whether that's a poem on the wall that reminds you of your power, or it's a girlfriend, or it's a coach like Autumn, something that you can turn to be like, oh yeah, what's true? Okay, it doesn't feel like that's true right now, but I remember past me was sure that it was true, and I trust past me a little bit. So I think that that's like a really fun practice to implement when you're in a good headspace.
Absolutely. I feel like riding the momentum as long as possible when it's sticky, icky, knowing that's the opportunity. Like, even the drama triangle, the way I look at it, the perpetrator is the opportunity, and like really ingraining that into you. And it's easier to do that on the good days, but I have 2 coaches, like I am plugged in to that reminder, like being around women who are living in their power, having conversations with people who are choosing to hold their power in a more unconditional way, and just normalizing that. So on the bad days, or in those triggering moments, you are resource. I think that's really important. Also, just like basic moving your body. Sometimes I can forget, like, if I'm sweating most days, I'm feeling good most days, and just letting energy move through. Yeah. Like, underrated, I would say.
Agreed. My friend Christian, who happens to be the fiance of our mentor, we were on a mastermind call, and I was like, "Yeah, man, I've been struggling. Like, I've just been having a tough time after having a pretty great time." And he said, not to be condescending, I hope this doesn't sound condescending, but have you worked out? And I was like, oh, I haven't really worked out. Like, I've been walking, but it's not the same as getting a good sweat or like really moving some heavy weights or dancing just like uncontrollably. So yeah, friendly reminder.
Yeah.
Move your body.
Yeah. Goes so far, especially in, the work, it's coaching, it's very cerebral. It's a lot of concepts, a lot of philosophy. I like to think of myself as a philosopher, ultimately. And it's very heady, and to get in the body is essential. Go outside, connect with earth. I like to think too of a metaphor as like we're in this giant ice cream shop of divinity, and every flavor exists. And at some point or another, we'll try most flavors. And like, I don't like lemon in my dessert personally, or like fruitiness. Like, I want cookies and cream or something. But some people like that, and when it's your turn to try the lemons, what is it, like sorbet? Like, it's like, can you appreciate it because it exists and someone enjoys it? It's like,
yeah. Oh, I love that perspective. You're so good at the metaphors, Autumn. I love it.
Oh, thank you.
So at the risk of getting too cerebral, you did mention a simple strategy that you use. And honestly, I don't want to like underrate that, because I think it's part of your superpower of staying in your feminine and really getting to lean into that magnetic radiance. So I'm curious if you can speak to what could a simple business, a successful, lucrative business, what could a simple framework look like for people that are listening?
Okay, so I use Instagram as a pretty big lead generator. I also have my podcast, and again, I've been in the game for a while. I started my podcast in 2018, a little ahead of the curve. So I have exposure already. If I didn't, I might even lean more towards email marketing maybe than social media, but I do use email marketing as well. So I post on Instagram 3 to 4 times a week. Sometimes I'm really feeling it and it's more. I make a podcast once a week, and I send 2 to 3 emails a week. From there, I have master classes every other month-ish right now. Eventually I'll do quarterly. Eventually they'll become paid. Masterclass, I'm trying out a different strategy right now, actually, where I had a whole Telegram group with the masterclass, and it's just popping off. I'm like so surprised and feel really excited about it. So I'll keep you guys updated on how that ends up panning out. But for masterclass, I just really focus on creating deep connection. And even if women don't end up signing up for something right off the bat, I gave them an incredible experience. I'm like a no gatekeep. Like my latest masterclass, I gave everything because I know embodiment's everything. So if they really want to implement it, they should probably work with me. And I'm, like, here it is. If you come work with me, if you want to really, get this going. And so, yeah, people, and then I follow up. I try to get people in my membership. If they're not sure, it's $88 a month from my membership, one-on-one or to my mastermind. I do a couple retreats a year because I love them. And this next one coming up, I am going to play with doing more of a conversion, and because I've never sold anything off the back of a mastermind. So I'm going to play with that this time, of a in-person retreat. If you want to come into my mastermind, here's some cool, fun bonuses. So I do, that's it. Like, that's my basic strategy. I really look for long-term relationship building over like quick sells, because it works. It's worked for me. Like, almost all of my higher paying clients have been listening to my podcast for a while, and I just, create solid relationships.
Yes. And I think that this is the part that a lot of new coaches are missing. And I talk about this inside the Sell Like You Fuck book that's going to be coming out in the next few months. It's like, it takes time. You don't ask someone to go to bed with you 5 minutes into the date. You don't ask someone to marry you at the end of the first date. Like, be curious, lean in, play the long game, keep showing up authentically, and keep showing up confidently and being unattached to, which is something that I notice about your energy, is there's a relaxed confidence. So I'm wondering if you can speak to how you've cultivated that. Because I think a lot of new coaches are like, yeah, well, she's confident because she has the results, but you didn't immediately have the results, right? So if you can speak to confidence.
No, and yes, I struggled with, like, I've had a lot of failed launches. I'm not an overnight success story coach. Like, things didn't happen right away for me. Lots of failed launches, master classes with one woman on, and she was the one woman who had already signed up for the offer I wanted to pitch, like, I've been
shout out to that student, by the way.
Yeah, Cheyenne, I fucking love you. Like, day one, she's in. Love
it.
Yeah, and what shifted for me, and like probably highlight of our whole conversation, I stopped avoiding the feeling that was a result of my failures. I leaned fully into it. And that's why in the process connection, step one is to feel it fully. I wanted so hard to avoid failing and not being not enough, like not having to confront the shame I felt around, why have I been in the game so long and there's new coaches coming in and they're all doing better than me. Like, I had to really feel and alchemize and be with that place of disempowerment where I was giving my power away. And as I started to talk about it and alchemize it and share with my coaches, share with my friends, maybe even share it on Instagram, and just kind of like let it, stop holding it so close to my chest and just really kind of own, like, yeah, I'm not an overnight success story coach. Like, I've struggled a little bit with getting my business to be really consistent, but here we go. It just changed something in me energetically, something in my psyche, where I was like, okay. And I feel like I was playing to not lose instead of playing to win ultimately. Yeah. And then I started playing to win, and really also just basic stuff, like really caring about your client's experience and their results. The better my clients do, the more confident I feel as a coach, giving everything to every call, no matter how many people show up, no matter how many people are on your mastermind or on your masterclass, even if it's your free stuff, just giving your all to it. I think there can be this entitlement in the coaching spaces of like, you should pay me. And it's like, when you're an incredible coach, people will. And building that and being an embodiment of your work. And I think that's also something that really shifted for me, is I was really good at conceptualizing the magic woman, but it's when I did that year-long challenge of being the magic woman, no matter what, investing like her, which kind of forced me to have to alchemize like she would, things started happening. And then, like the confidence has compounded as I have gotten more clients and better results. But that compounded because I started cultivating that confidence now by not running away from who I was and where I was. It's okay to be where you are, and own it, own the fuck out of it. You'll be confident there. And then,
Right. It's hard to be confident when you are feeling shame about something and not letting your fullest self come through, because confidence comes from authenticity. And if it's not authentic, it's not true confidence. There's a facade happening. So if there's any part of you that you're resisting or hiding, like, spend time with that. Really be curious about that, because it's going to be really hard to step forward fully if there's a part of you that's like, I'm not stepping forward. And I relate to this so heavily. There have been a number of things in my own business that I've kind of like come out of the closet about over the years, because I recognized that by not talking about it, I wasn't showing up, and it was debilitating. And I was like, my soul was kind of dying, because I was like, I am literally born to show the F up. I'm the fucking Bold Life movement. What are we doing over here? So I love that reminder to just address the things that you feel like you want to hide.
So important. And we can convince ourselves, we can get really good at convincing ourselves with like spiritual jargon that we're like trying to be positive, trying to like staying in the zone, or, oh, like, I don't want to get into that low vibe or whatever it is. And it's really through those places that there's a lot of power, a lot of intense emotion, emotional maturity. That's half of my work. How do we hold ourselves through every feeling? Because you're going to feel everything, and you don't need to not. Like, we came here to feel. We're in the ice cream shop at Divinity. Like, You can taste it all, baby.
I love it so much.
Yeah. So that's, yeah, like highlight that. Don't avoid your feelings. Feel them. Even if they're low vibe, that's your liberation. That's where the magic happens.
What you resist persists, hands down. I want to circle back to what you said about the more that your clients succeed, the more confident you feel. And I feel like there's a nuance to that I want to point out for people who are listening, because you will inevitably encounter people who say they want to work with you, but aren't actually ready to do the work. And if you're in a place of needing the money, you might say yes to them and then hate working with them because they're not going to get results. You're going to question your process. You're going to question if you should even be doing this because you kind of hate doing it because you're just not a good fit for this client. So recognize that what Autumn is illustrating here is that caring about the success of your clients allows you to learn more, show up better, be more curious, and really be about the impact over the conversion. And by caring more about the impact, you inevitably get more conversions. So just wanted to like distinguish.
Very important distinguishment. Yeah, very important distinguishment. Because if you work with people just like out of that place in need and they're not ready to show up, they're not going to get the results. And that's not going to feel good for either of you ultimately. But working with people who are ready and they're doing it from desire, they're doing it for themselves, they're doing it because they want to, and they're going to show up, and then they got skin in the game, they're investing in themselves and their transformation, and you're there to support them, and they get the results, and it works, and you get that proof. Very different. Very, very different.
Very different. One of the things I also want to highlight about your unique journey and how I think it really exemplifies like what's awesome about the coaching path that people might be choosing is you get to keep evolving and unlocking new levels. So we're talking about how Autumn was facing certain emotions around not being an overnight success and resisting wanting to share that publicly. But when we look back at her early days, you were sharing very vulnerable things about your eating disorder, about your body, and learning to love yourself. And so those things might not have any charge anymore. And yet you found new things. So like, I'm just inviting people to recognize whatever your current stickiness is. The goal isn't to get rid of the stickiness or get rid of the things that make you uncomfortable. It's to lean into it, to move through it so that you can actually get to the next thing that makes you uncomfortable, because that's just like the next level.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's those things that we go through that add so much substance and value and ultimately assets to our arsenal as a coach. So for me, not being overnight success, now I'm so grateful for that, because I know what it's like, and I know the stories that go on in someone's head and the places you can go and the defeat you can feel. Whereas I've worked with some coaches who have been more overnight successy, and although I love and admire and just like find so much empowerment and inspiration from them, like there were moments where I didn't relate, and I didn't get it. And so I feel the substance and depth it's brought to me as a coach, and what I know through my embodied experience will make me the perfect coach for some people that I wouldn't have got otherwise. And I'm glad. I feel like it built so much resiliency in me where I'm like, I can do anything.
Yes.
Like I stayed in the freaking game. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Like Ben Hardy talks about this in the book that we referenced earlier, Being Your Future Self Now. Grit is something that the older you get, the better you get at developing it, because the reality behind grit is that it takes a commitment and a dedication over time to embody it. And a lot of our culture is based around immediate gratification, escapism, turning to dopamine, the next dopamine hit. And if you are an overnight success, he also talks about how success can be the biggest catalyst for failure. It's more likely that you will stop sticking to the things that got you that success than if you learned the grit necessary to build that success over time.
I love that.
Yeah.
So much. It's also relative. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, hon.
Oh, no, you go.
I was just going to say, I didn't realize that you had experience hosting retreats. I think that retreats are really powerful. I mean, we met at a retreat, so obviously they're
Mm-hmm.
powerful. They're a powerful portal and opportunity for you to create a very different kind of transformation than you might be able to in a one-on-one coaching setting or even a virtual group program. So I'm curious if you have any advice that you wish you had known when you started hosting retreats for
Mm-hmm.
people who feel that call.
Awesome. Yeah. So I've done several co-hosted retreats, and I've only done one retreat solo, which was my favorite because I got to really like everything was exactly as I wanted it to be, and it was just like the
Yeah.
magic woman experience, you know. But what really empowered me, I went to Mia Magic's retreat, and it was unlike any retreat I'd ever been to, and I just had this overwhelming like, oh my gosh, I can do this. This is me. Like, this is my vision. So I think going to really dope retreats gives you so much insight for how transformational they can be. And two, I feel like retreats are one of those things where you have to do it because you want to do it. Like, you have to fully want to do it because it does take grit. You know, like I'm in my retreats in October and I booked my house just a couple weeks ago. And it's like, I'm going to be in retreat mode from now until the retreat's over with payment plans and talking with people and just making sure everything goes smoothly, talking to my chef, you know, getting my assistant on board. It takes a lot more energy and capacity. So rewarding. The transformation in person, so incredible. Also a very good test of being the magic woman, getting to book out your retreat because it's so unknown. It's going to happen. There is a deadline. It's not movable when you book a house and people booked flights and stuff. So staying with it. Like, I went to this retreat knowing it's sold out. That's my energy. I'm like, I know it's sold out. The last retreat, I kind of felt similar, and I sold it out down to like the last couple of weeks, got the last woman in. Yeah, have fun with it. I think retreat should be a blast, but it takes more work than your online course, that's for sure.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Someone always gets sick last minute or misses their flight, and just it really tests your capacity to be the relaxed woman moment to moment, or the relaxed man, and let it be that. Like, let it be the opportunity. Like I was saying, like the drama triangle, the perpetrator, the bad things, the opportunity, and retreats are full of opportunities, and like go into it with that mindset.
Yeah, we were talking offline before we hit record about a retreat that I just decided, I kind of co-decided with the TA community to create this because
Amazing.
I kept having my students say, we want to meet in person. We want to meet in person. We love our pods. We want to meet in person. And I was like, screw it. Let's meet in person. So within 7 days, I had the idea come through. It's called the Heart of Business Retreat, originally called the Art of Business, but I was like, no, it's all about connecting to the heart of your business. And we have multiple TA people already signed up, which is so fun. And it's just like you said, it's a labor of love, but it's just that it's so much love. If you feel called to do it, it's completely worth it.
Absolutely. And I've also had, that's been one of my initiation points when I was co-hosting retreats. We had retreats where I left with making zero money, and it was just building that grit of how do you hold in-person space and being a great facilitator and creating a wonderful experience. And that mindset is so important for any endeavor ever, right, in life, whether it be relationship or business, but that curiosity and that willingness to grow and learn. And I think that's something happens so much in the coaching industry with that overnight success vibe, is like, we all have to learn how to be great at what we do. And it just takes time, and be patient with it and water it. Like, I'm such a better coach even today than I was a year ago because I'm a different woman. And I've gotten older. Life's happened.
Yeah, I think that the day this goes live actually is the day we kick off our next round of Coaching Confidence Accelerator. And so just talking on the thread of it takes time, it takes practice. If you're a coach listening to this and you're like, I need time, I need practice, I don't have clients, then come join us inside Coaching Confidence Accelerator. It's definitely not too late. Every week you get the opportunity to practice coaching. Like we give our students real world examples and they get to trade coaching with the other students. And it's just like one of our most powerful and most sought after programs. So just definitely want to make sure and mention that on this episode. Autumn, what would you tell to anyone who's just starting out, something that you wish you had known at the beginning?
Everything's happening for you. Whatever your goal is, trust that whatever is in front of you right now is the path to getting it. It should not be different. How do we know that? Because it's not. Channeling a little Byron Katie here. If you have the goal, life is orienting to give it to you. But sometimes there's just a place where you've given power away to, or like a deep-rooted story, or the perfect trigger that would take you out of the embodiment of what your whole mission's about. And that's what you get to do on the route. And like the success is like behind that door, and just really trusting that. I wish someone would have like tattooed that on my forehead in 2020 when I was like losing my fucking shit, around it all. Of like this, if it's in front of you, it is the path to getting what you want. You have the goal, you have the desire, and this is how you get there. Lean in. Don't run, don't hide, don't wish it was different, pretend it's not there. No, like this is the path. Lean in.
I love that. I love you. This is so
fun.
I
love you. I'm so honored.
Where can people go get more? Oh, me too, girl. Me too. This is the first of many.
Yay. I'm so excited. You can get more on Instagram at Autumn Brianne, or you can find me at autumnbrianne.com. I'm everywhere. I have a YouTube channel, Autumn Brianne, the Magic Woman podcast. That's where I give my little riffs and downloads. But yeah, that's it. Come play.
I love it. I love it. We'll have all of that linked up in the show notes. And yeah, go show my girl some love. She's amazing. Hopefully you can feel, if you're not watching this on YouTube, you can just feel her radiance and her kindness and her warmth coming through. And she's the real deal. So if you want to be the real deal, go check her out.
Thank you, Kim. I love you.
Cheers to Autumn for that incredible conversation, and big thank you to you, the listeners. We really couldn't do this show without you, so I appreciate all of your feedback that you send in. And if you have someone in your circle that you think would be a really great addition to this show, then do us a favor. Go over on Instagram and DM us at Transformation Academy Online, or DM me personally at The Kimberly Rich, and let me know who it is that you want me to interview, whether it's someone that you know or just someone that you really look up to and appreciate. We are always happy to reach out and expand our network and really bring you the content that you want to hear. So if you're interested in checking out the Hêart of Business Retreat with me coming up in October, head over to theprofitablecoach.com/048. If you want to get all the information about our beautiful guest, Autumn, head over to theprofitablecoach.com/048 for episode 48. Sending you the biggest hugs and so much love and encouragement on your coaching journey, and I'll catch you on next week's episode.